Good morning, everyone. You're looking live at Central West Virginia. It's 7:30 a.m. It's January 8th, 2026, and it is new every morning. That is the podcast. I am your host, Tim Koger, and we're going to have a fun day today. I'm looking outside. It's foggy here in Central West Virginia this morning. It looks like there might have been got below freezing a little bit by looking at the ground. Good morning, Sue. Nice to have you along. I am super excited about the information I got for you today. Some fun stuff, some serious stuff, as I do every day. Try to keep you up to date with cutting edge. Yesterday there was a lot of medical news. Not so much today. Good morning, Deborah. Nice to have you along. And this is good information. I'm hoping that we have a lot of morning warriors with me out there that are watching first thing at 7:30 this morning. But this information will be good at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I hope you're having a good morning. If you're with me this morning, if you're not, if you're watching this at 2 or 3 or 7 o'clock tonight, I hope you're having a good day, a great day. I just want everybody to have wonderful days. And I want to start your morning off, if you're with me this morning, as a good day. I'm having a good day. I've been up for a while preparing the information, scouring throughout all news. Good morning, Susan and Tom. Good morning from Virginia. I'll be mentioning Virginia again in a few minutes because I have a story about what you call your soft drinks. And everyone's a little bit different. And I know there's some different people on here that are from different states originally, so we'll give you some perspective in a little while. But I have a couple kind of real news stories to begin with this morning. But I just want you to know that this podcast will continue as long as it continues to grow. So if you like this podcast, please like it, love it, share it. Go to It's New Every Morning Facebook page and follow that, because that's where this will eventually go. Excuse me. I am out of my tea this morning, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes, about what people say, Coke, pop, soda, what do people use for that? But I'll get to that story in a minute. But before that, I have some serious stories, so we'll get those started. The first story I have is the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is shutting down after 240 years. Now, they say labor constraints, financial losses. They're obviously losing. Lots of newspapers are losing money. I think that's the sign of the times. The newspapers that survive are the ones that get really good at getting online, and some have been better at that than others. So anyway, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is going out of business. Next story is about New York City. And in 2025, New York City recorded the lowest number in history of shootings. 688 shooting incidents in New York City in 2025. That's the lowest in their history. The previous record was 2018 at 622. Good morning, Donna. Nice to have you along. So in 2025, they had the smallest amount of shooting incidents in their history. Now, what's changing in 2026? Well, they're getting a new mayor. They have a new mayor in 2026. So let's just see if that trend of shooting incidents stays down with the new mayor. I have my opinion. We'll see what happens. We'll watch the real news. Now, this is a story mostly for the younger people. U.S. population is projected to start shrinking for the first time in 2056, after reaching a peak of 364,000 people. So, the government says that by 56, we're finally going to start shrinking. More people are going to be dying than are being birthed. And that's because the declining birth rates are happening. And of course, people are living longer now, but at some point it's going to catch up. They say 2056. We will see if that is an accurate number for you that are around in 2056. So, I love this next story. Some people are whining about the new food pyramid that was announced yesterday by the White House. Now, what do you think? Let me give you some perspectives. You'll hear a lot of different things on the news, but I'm going to give you some facts about this. The new dietary guidelines urge Americans to avoid processed foods and added sugar. That sounds like pretty good advice to me. I don't know why in the world that those things were already in there for so long. Of course, this was all released by, the Food Nutritional. It's a food nutritional advice. It's not mandatory or anything like that. It was done by the Trump administration. So basically they're saying people should eat more whole foods and protein and fewer higher processed foods and less added sugar. To me, that's like, I don't know about you all, but I think that makes all kinds of sense. So Robert Kennedy, which is in charge of this, his message was, and I quote, "My message is clear. Eat real food." What a great idea. Eat real food. What, I don't know. I'm not involved in that. And of course, there's nutritional experts that are on all sides of this. This is good, this is bad. Because I've learned that, this is my editorial comment on this. I have learned that eating healthy means different things to different people. Okay? Some people say eating healthy means this. Other people say eating healthy means that. So nobody's really, everybody doesn't agree on what eating healthy is. But it sounds to me like eating less processed sugar and less, processed sugar and also processed foods in general, eating less of those has got to be a good idea. And I don't know why that wasn't already a good idea. I think it was. Next story. So how much is smartphones being used in school hours by our youth? Now, they did a study, and this study is different than other studies, and I'll explain that in a minute. But this usage was over an hour a day in school. Now, it's no surprise that social media was leading the way on what they're using it. This is ages 13 through 18, and it's estimated that those ages use 8.5 hours, 8.5 hours of daily on-screen entertainment. Of course, smartphones have been associated with poor physical health, mental health, and of course, poor academics. No surprise with that. Nearly all public schools have, rules and regulations and policies in place to control this, but obviously they're not working very well. It's difficult to use that. Now, this particular study has been different than other studies because, they are measuring the app activity through to passive sensitive technology rather than like self-reporting. In the past, all these things have been self-reporting. The teenagers have been telling you how much they use their phone in school and out of school, but this is actually using the app to follow it. So now we know what the real truth is. And I would say it's probably not great news. 8.5 hours is a long time to be on something. So the next story is a story that I that I promoted ahead of time on Facebook. So is it pop, soda, or Coke? What do you use? Okay, well, I'm going to give you some a little bit of history and what other people are saying about that. And I know there are people on this call right now, or on this podcast right now, and also will be watching it later today, that have different opinions on this subject. Okay, I know for a fact by looking at who's on here that people are different places. So anyway, according to Fletch, the first carbonated drink was accidentally created by Joseph Priestley in 1769. Oh, I'm sorry, 1767. Yeah, I know soda. Soda's a popular one in some parts of the country. By 1800, the population had named the bubbling beverage soda. Okay, so that's what people, by 1800, they were calling it soda. And it stuck for a little while. A decade later, fans began to call it pop to mimic the sound of a cork being pulled. I don't know. So that was, in early 1800s still. Now, the debate was briefly settled in 1863. Ready for this? They finally settled it. When Americans collectively embraced the name soda pop, putting soda and pop together. But, that didn't last long. Yeah, soda, pop. Let's put them together. It sounded like a good idea, but it didn't last because people just weren't able to do that from different areas. And more soft drinks were invented. The name debate grew and split, and different parts of the country did different things. Some people call it Coke. So today, the way we view this is still really exactly all over the place. Let me give you some examples. Individuals who grew up in New England likely refer to carbonated drinks as soda. Okay, so that's not just New England, but also the northern part of the country. Okay, and some areas, Midwesterners, some Southwesterners, some of them call it, use a different drink. They call it pop. While Southern people, and in general, especially the Eastern Southern, call it Coke. Can be, so people are all over the place. It's a little bit regional. So if you are confused living here in West Virginia, let me explain why you're confused. Okay. So Ohio and Pennsylvania mainly call it pop. Virginia and Maryland call it soda. Kentucky and Tennessee call it Coke. So as you can see, all around West Virginia, you have three different variations. And now in West Virginia, the slight winner was pop, but only slightly. So let me it's already, we're all over the place, and I know we disagree, but let me confuse you a little bit more, okay? So part of Northeastern have ditched the word soda altogether, and they're using the word tonic. Tonic? Now, in Virginia and the Carolinas, it's not uncommon for someone to order a carbo. And when they order a carbo, they're talking about a soda pop drink. Whatever you want to call it. There's scattered places in the country that have gone back to the old throwback, soda pop, adding soda and pop together. So there's some places doing that. And there's other places just have ignored entirely the debate, and they call it a fountain drink. So some places they call it fountain drink. Some people they call it soda pop. Some places pop. Some places Coke. Some places soda. And a lot of times it has to do with where you originated from. All right. So I just find that interesting. That story interesting. Because I know people. In fact, on here there's Deborah calling it soda. She's from the north. She grew up in the north. Donna's calling it pop. I know different people call it different things. I'm cool with any of it. I call it, I may be unique because I call it different things at different times. I'll order a Coke. I don't usually use soda. I use more like pop or Coke. Sometimes I'll even say soda pop, but anyway, everybody's different. I guess I'm kind of South because a lot of times I'll say a Coke even when it's not a Coke. Okay, so I'm going to close today with a story that I read this morning, and I love this story. I hope you do too. It's kind of a lighthearted story, but it has an interesting meaning, okay? So I'm going to read to you this story. Soda pop is good, Sue. So a family got a new little pet kitten that all of them loved and adored. One day, they were playing in the front yard with the kitten, and it quickly ran up a tree, got out on a limb, slipped, and was barely holding on by its front claws. The little kitten didn't have enough body strength to pull itself up. Now, the father, who happened to be a pastor, came running over and said, "Oh, I can fix this." He backed his car up to the small tree, tied a rope to the fender, and then tied the rope around the tree. He told his family, "I'm going to pull the tree back real slow." And when I do, I want you to reach up and grab the little kitten when I get it down far enough. Slowly, he began to pull the car away, and the tree started bending. Everything was going just as planned when all of a sudden, the rope broke. The kitten flew way into the air and disappeared. Poor kitten. Now, 2 weeks later, the pastor and his wife went to visit a family in their church. They knocked on the door, and the mother invited them in. And right there was a beautiful little kitten. It was the same little kitten they had lost 2 weeks earlier. So as the pastor, not wanting to put the woman on the spot, he said, "Well, what a beautiful kitten. How long have you had it?" And she said, "Pastor, we've had it about 2 weeks, but you are not going to believe how it came into our family. Little Annie, my daughter, had been begging to get her a cat. Day and night for weeks. She had been asking. One day, I had all I could take, and I said, 'Honey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get down on our hands and knees right here in this garden. And if the Lord wants you to have a kitty cat, he's going to send a kitty cat all the way from heaven.'" Oh, and he did. You know, as I read that, I thought, for us as Christians, sometimes just getting down on our knees is all it takes. We try all different kinds of ways to fix problems, as the pastor did with the car. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But sometimes just getting down on your hands and knees and praying will fix the problem. Give it a try. With that, have a blessed day. I'll be here again tomorrow to finish up the week, 7:30 a.m. Don't miss it. Love you guys. Take care. Be blessed. Bye-bye.